It's time to breathe again on the latest Breath of Fresh Air webcast here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Yes, we're on Twitch now. So hopefully everybody can get on here, join me. I am by myself for this episode because Patrick Brackett is spending time with family. So hopefully he can get back on there with us come next week. And hopefully he could get a shorty in there too, because it's been a little bit since he's done one of those. But everybody, welcome to the show. And we have a lot of topics to cover, so let's get right to it. I want to begin with Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib coming out as gay. Now, number one, it's great he can come out as gay, and this is really significant because he's the first active NFL player to do so. Um, Again, this is great. He was able to find himself and be comfortable enough to come out here and acknowledge who he is and what he's about. So I think there is a lot of strength to do that because I mean it's one of those things that I mean I know we've made some strides. We have Pride Month going on right now, and there have been some strides as far as gays and lesbians getting rights or getting more rights, more equal rights. But we still have a long way to go. Hopefully, with what Carl Nassib was able to do with this announcement, there will be more people who can identify with him and be able to be comfortable enough with themselves to be able to come out. But I will say this in regards to the impact of his coming out has. We still have a lot of work to do, and it will be a huge step when something like this announcement is not news because by that time then it will be in a place where it's good, we accept it, and it's only a difference in preference in terms of relationships. It's not anything in terms of this person being wrong. It's not anything in terms of this person being just so taboo, just so far away from everybody else that we can't touch him or any of the gay and lesbian members. So this is a great step. And again, I hope we can see a day where this isn't news because when we get to that point, then that's when we know we've made a huge step in progression, in progress, and just advancing in terms of the future of this nation and the world. So, once again, great on Carl Nassib to come out here and just be who he is and be comfortable with who he is because that's all we want is to be comfortable with ourselves. And that's always a search we have going on with a lot of us, just trying to make sure we're comfortable with who we are and not caring about what other people think and feel. So great on Carl Nassib to be comfortable in his own skin, be comfortable in his abilities. And we'll see how things progress, particularly in the Las Vegas Raiders dressing room and the front office and how we get behind him as well. But for him to be able to come out, it shows a lot of strength, and I admire him for that. So let's transfer. I can't speak right now, but bear with me. We're going to introduce a new game to the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. Hopefully, we can bring this game for future episodes, depending on what's going on. But I felt it was pretty appropriate to play this game because right now we have the NBA playoffs going on. And you guys know from the as much as we've done this show, you guys know we are all about giving the teams credit, the ones who have advanced, and forgetting about the losers, because honestly, we'll have all off season to talk about those teams. But before I get into this game, which is called Run It Back or Break It Up, this we have to give credit to the four teams that are remaining right now in the NBA finals or NBA finals in the NBA playoffs in the conference finals. So you have the Los Angeles Clippers, Phoenix Suns playing each other in the Western Conference, and the Eastern Conference finals between the Atlanta Hawks, who would have ever thought it'd been the Hawks, and the Milwaukee Bucks. That series gets started on Wednesday night in Milwaukee. So with the Clippers, hey, look, I've been railing on the Clippers for the last at least year. I felt like they were an overhyped, overrated team. And from the looks of things, particularly in their first round series against the Dallas Mavericks, it looked like I was going to be proven right. But they battled back and they got to the second round against the Utah Jazz. And they knocked the Jazz out in 6 games, winning the last four. So, in essence, they swept them. And I also have to give credit to Paul George. I have been very critical of Paul George, and then there was a couple of people who got on me with some of the comments who said, "I think you're sleeping on Paul George." And I said, "No, I'm not sleeping on Paul George. I think he's a good player, but he's overrated." Well, he has stepped his game up, and ever since Kawhi Leonard went down with the knee injury, we still don't know what's his status for the rest of the games they'll have to play, but he ever since he went down, Paul George has stepped his game up, and he is playing like the guy a lot of people feel he is. So we'll see if he can continue to lead this Clippers team against this Phoenix Suns team that is really, really hungry, looking good. I mean, they knocked out the LA Lakers in the first round, the defending champs, and then they swept the Denver Nuggets, looking real good. So we'll see where they go as far as Chris Paul and when he can return, who's right now in health and safety protocols. But Phoenix is looking really impressed right now. Currently, they have a 1-0 lead in that series. Game 2 is tonight in Phoenix. Over to the East. What can you say about the Atlanta Hawks, man? This team is scrappy. And you can say what you want about Philly, them blowing leads, blowing an 18-point lead in game 4, blowing an 18-point lead in game 5. Well, how about we give Atlanta credit for not giving up, because they just did their thing. They continued to fight, continued to scrap, and they just wanted it more than Philadelphia did. That's just all it boils down to. They played harder. They just looked like they were hungrier. Simply put, they just wanted it more. So you give them credit, because nobody, tell me anybody who had the Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals this year. I know I didn't. And if you tell me you did, unless you live in Atlanta or you are a Atlanta sports fan or a Georgia fan, then I'm going to say you're probably lying. But give them credit for being here. And then with the Milwaukee Bucks, hey, I've been saying I feel like people have been sleeping on them. I know everybody's going to make excuses. Oh, the Brooklyn Nets were injured, blah, blah, whatever. You knew what you were getting out of the Brooklyn Nets, and you knew with this big three they had, that was a distinct possibility. One, if not two of them, could get hurt anyway. I know that's a harsh reality of things, but that's just simply the reality. And that's exactly what it is, because their players have a history of getting hurt. Not so much James Harden, which, I mean, James Harden, before he went up to Brooklyn, he's been very, very durable. So to see him go down with a hamstring injury and go out there battling on one leg, well, I mean, that's pretty admirable. But give Milwaukee credit for grinding out these wins. Not exactly the prettiest thing we had seen from them, but they just grinded it out. And here they are in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think they have a very good opportunity, just like the other three teams do, of course. But I feel like they're probably the favorites. I think they're the favorites out in Vegas to win the NBA title now. So let's see if Milwaukee can take advantage of it, but they're going to have to bring it, because Atlanta's not going anywhere, and they're going to scrap and claw for every single thing they can get. So that's what it is ultimately all about. The teams that are still here in this moment. That's what it should be about. But as far as this new game we're going to play, which again is called Run It Back or Break It Up, we're going to talk about the 4 teams that got knocked out in the semifinal round of the conferences. Now, the reason why I picked this round to play this game is because it's that median. It's that middle point where there's a question of what do you want to do to continue to advance to to make steps up, to go ahead and give yourselves a chance to ultimately get to the conference finals and the NBA finals, or perhaps a championship. So in the first round, most of the time, those are the teams that are either getting into the playoffs for the first time, or maybe they're a young team, uh, just trying to step their game up a little bit, or maybe it's just a team that's in the middle of a pack and that's as good as they're going to be. But you pretty much know what needs to be done if you're in the first round. Or if you're getting to the first round and getting knocked out in the first round, you know you have a lot of growing to do. If you get knocked out in the conference finals or in the NBA finals, then you know you're probably not far off. So it's about probably trying to make some tinkering, some moves you can put in there to get your team to that level and perhaps getting over that hump of getting to the conference finals. Or if you got knocked out in the NBA finals, you know that you're kind of close, but you know you need a few moves to make sure you have what it takes to get past that level the next time if you're able to get past that level. But in the semifinals, yeah, kind of iffy. So we're gonna look at these four teams. We're gonna look at the Denver Nuggets, the Utah Jazz in the Western Conference, and then we're gonna look at the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers. Of course, the 76ers have been a hot topic these last couple of days. And yes, I will talk about Ben Simmons as well during this webcast. But let's go to the Denver Nuggets first. So here it is. Do I think they should run it back or break the team up? Personally, I'm going to say they should run it back because, I mean, they have a good core there. We know they have the MVP of the NBA in Nikola Jokic, and their backcourt was severely ravaged with injuries. I think they got Will Barton back for the last couple of games during their series with the Phoenix Suns. But they were missing Jamal Murray, who went out in a game against the Golden State Warriors with a torn ACL. That was the ultimate 1-2 punch. Murray being teamed up with Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic. And we also know with Jamal Murray, this guy is a bona fide scorer who can rise up any given day and drop 50 on you. We all remember what he did down in the bubble I guess a few months ago. It just seemed that time flies so quickly. But last year in the bubble, he went ballistic, dropping 50-point games, 40-point games. I mean, the dude is capable of getting hot and carrying a team. If you put that with Jokic, and then you had the emergence of Michael Porter Jr., and you had the trade to get Aaron Gordon from the Orlando Magic. I'm on record as saying if Denver would have stayed healthy, it's very possible they were the ones who were going to come out of the West this year, and we might even be talking about them today as far as being in the Western Conference Finals. I felt like that trade to get Aaron Gordon combined with Michael Porter Jr.'s emergence, a healthy Jamal Murray, and then the eventual MVP of the league, that's going to be tough for teams to handle. I feel like, honestly, it was a miracle Denver even got to the conference semifinals anyway. I thought they were going to lose to the Portland Trailblazers in the first round. It tells you how much I know. But the Nuggets, they should definitely run it back. So hopefully they get a healthy Jamal Murray back. He comes back from this torn ACL, and we're going to see what they can do. The only thing I'm questioning is how far can their head coach, Michael Malone, don't call him Mike. Apparently he gets mad when you call him Mike, but Michael Malone, I felt like there was some things he was saying in terms of calling out his teammates after losses. He did it in after the Nuggets got blown out in Game 4 of the first round in Portland, and he did it again when Phoenix blew him out in Game 2. Just kind of calling them out, calling out their heart, and just trying. I guess he had said he was trying to find 5 players who want to compete. I feel like if he says that too much, then eventually he'll start to lose the team. You can only play that card so many times when it comes to dealing with the team. And I guess he can say that nobody knows the pulse of the team better than he does. And maybe those players are okay with being called out like that. We don't know. But I feel like if he does that too many times, he could start to lose the team a little bit. But other than that, I like Denver to come on back and be pretty strong again in the Western Conference. So for that one, that is a run it back with the Nuggets. The Utah Jazz, ooh, I'm gonna say break that one up a little bit. I think, especially considering they had the number one seed in the West and they were in a series with the Los Angeles Clippers, tied 2-2, and the Clippers didn't have Kawhi Leonard. They lost the last two games, and now they're out of the playoffs. I feel like that is a big time sign that says the team has topped out their talent. There's going to have to be some changes to be made. Now, what they can do, I guess that remains to be seen. They have a good foundation. We know Donovan Mitchell is a star in the making. And I mean, he went off in the bubble last year, just like Jamal Murray did. And he had a great playoff run once he was in there. But they're probably going to need another playmaker to come join him. And it's got to be someone better than Mike Conley Jr. And listen, I love Mike Conley. I feel like Mike Conley is one of the most underrated point guards we have seen in recent memory. All those good years he had with those grit and grind teams for the Memphis Grizzlies when he was playing with Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol and Rudy Gay for a little bit as well. That man is a very good point guard, but he's always hurt. And I don't know if he is the guy necessarily who's going to put them over the top now. So I feel like you have to get another player in there to kind of help out Donovan Mitchell with the playmaking. And Rudy Gobert. Look, Rudy Gobert got exposed. He got exposed bad in this Clippers series. Give Ty Lue credit for going ahead and saying, hey, we're going to attack him on pick and rolls over and over and over again. We don't care if he's the defensive player of the year. 3 times out of the last 4 years, I think he's been the defensive player of the year. We don't care. We're going to attack him over and over and over again and go at him. And that's what they did. And they did that. They pick and rolled the Jazz to death, and they didn't make any adjustments. So I'm not quite ready to say Quinn Snyder needs to go as the head coach. I think he's done a pretty good job there with the Jazz, but there are some changes that need to be made because if you had the number one seed, especially in a year like this where you had your quote unquote heavyweights out of the way, the Lakers went out in the first round. The Nets are gone in the East. This was a golden opportunity, I felt like, for the Jazz to come out there and do some special things. But they let this opportunity slip. They got knocked out by a Clippers team without Kawhi. And to me, that's pretty damning. So in this regard for the Jazz, yes, I'm saying this is a break it up for them. I wouldn't run it back with the same crew. Now let's go to the Eastern Conference. The Brooklyn Nets. What to do about the Nets? They're going to run it back. Obviously, they're going to run it back. And I guess I'm going to say run it back as well, just simply because you had two of your big three guys injured. So the only hope the Nets have, though, is those guys stay healthy. Kevin Durant, he missed a good part of the year this year. Of course, we knew he was coming back from the Achilles tendon injury he had suffered in the 2019 NBA Finals when he was a member of the Golden State Warriors against the Toronto Raptors. He looks ready to do his thing. Looks ready. He is ready. We'll give him that. I mean, this man put up 40-point games in games 5 and 7, and he almost carried the Nets to the Eastern Conference Finals. Just a little bit of an inch off that line, and they are in there. But he was on the line for that three. They ended up going to overtime, and they lost the game to the Milwaukee Bucks, 115-111. So Kevin Durant looks like he's back to where he was pre the Achilles tendon injury. But James Harden, hamstring injury, Kyrie Irving sprained his ankle again. Freak injury for Kyrie Irving, of course. He landed on the foot of Giannis Antetokounmpo. But Kyrie Irving is often injured. Just simply put, he's always hurt. It's always something with him. And if he is right, you don't know when he's going to go away and just take some weeks off. You just never know with Kyrie Irving. But I mean, when he's out there, we know he's a special offensive player. So the Nets really don't have a choice but to run this back because they have so much money that is tied into those big three of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. I have no idea what they're going to do to build around them because they're cap strapped. They had Spencer Dinwiddie in the fold, but he got hurt at the beginning of the year, and he's opting out of the deal. He's becoming an unrestricted free agent. Doesn't look like he's coming back. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see what they're going to do. But honestly, we know it's about those big three. And the only thing the Nets and their fans can hope for is they stay healthy. Because if not, it's going to be this. They're going to go out in the Eastern Conference semifinals. I guess I would just want to see what would happen if they are able to stay healthy. Y'all know I was not a fan of all three of those guys being together because I feel like there's one basketball and having three ball dominant offensive players on one team. I just don't really see that working. And I still feel like it won't work. But if there was a year it maybe could have worked good enough for them to win an NBA title, this would have been it because this is a very uneven year. And the Nets, they just didn't have enough to pull it out. And you look at their team, I don't think they got any points from their bench at all in game 7. Remember Jeff Green, he had a huge game in game 5, 27 points. Yeah, he had 27 points, 7 3-pointers hit. In game 7, 0 points, didn't do anything. And then DeAndre Jordan, he's camped out on the bench. I guess he was in the doghouse for whatever reason. I would think you would play him if you were Steve Nash. Seeing how the Bucks have Giannis and Brook Lopez in the middle, I guess they didn't feel he was necessary. And I'm not going to sit there and say that move to play him or not to play him cost them. But I think DeAndre Jordan could have gave you something if you played him. And Joe Harris, one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, he disappeared, totally disappeared in that series. So look, the Nets just need their big three to stay healthy if they're going to have a chance. There's not too much I feel they could do because all their money is tied up to those three. That's the only thing they can hope for. They're gonna run it back. I think they should run it back just to see, I guess, if they can stay healthy. Track record says probably not as a tandem, but we'll see come next year. And then there's the Philadelphia 76ers. Wow. All right. Yeah, Philly probably needs to break this up. Now, I don't know. More on Ben Simmons in a minute. We'll figure him out here in a little bit. But Philly, this is the same thing as Utah. Number 1 seed in the East. Everything's out there for you. And you got knocked out by an Atlanta Hawks team that on paper you should have beat them probably in 5 games. But again, Atlanta just outscrapped them. They wanted it more. Philly needs to break this up. And I think what they need to do is get somebody in there who is going to just dig in their ass. Get in their ass if they are not doing the things they're supposed to do. They need a guy who's going to hold them accountable. To me, Philly just seems like a too cool for school type of team, and I don't see a dog. I don't see a dude who's going to get after it. I don't see a dog that's going to come in there and demand his teammates play with some heart, play with some toughness. Atlanta out toughed them in that series. They wanted it more. They scrapped more. And for a team that has as much talent as Philly to get out toughed and out scrapped like that, especially playing in a town that's known for their scrappiness and toughness in Philadelphia, that's unacceptable. So yes, that's got to get broken up. I don't know if you're going to get rid of Doc Rivers. We know he has struggled to say the least in closeout games and just blowing leads in general in series. Of course, last year he was the coach from the Clippers, blew a 3-1 lead in the bubble against the Nuggets. So I don't know if getting rid of Doc Rivers is necessarily the answer, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, if it happened, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think he'll probably be there. But yeah, the main thing Philly needs, they need somebody to get after it in terms of just bringing that toughness, bringing that heart. I mean, Joel Embiid, I think he's a special player. Second in the MVP voting. It's going to take I think a lot was put on his shoulders because of Ben Simmons not being able to basically just want the ball in general. And Tobias Harris, look, he got a big contract, but I don't know if Tobias Harris, as good as a player he is, I think Tobias Harris is good, but a guy who could elevate you, I don't think he's that guy. Seth Curry can only do so much. There's going to have to be some upgrades made to that Philly roster. And if not, then I guess they're going to be what they've been doing, getting knocked out in the Eastern Conference semifinals. So, look, it is time after all these years of hearing trust the process, trust the process. That process is done. It's time to go ahead, blow some things up, and get people in here you think can get you over the top because this present crew, it's not going to cut it. So, staying on the 76ers, I mentioned we would get on Ben Simmons, and we know Ben Simmons has been a hot topic in terms of whether or not the Philly 76ers are going to trade him. What is Ben Simmons going to do? We know he needs to improve. Obviously, he needs to be more aggressive. If he's supposed to be a legit top 10 or 15 player, like a lot of people would say, then he has to want the ball in the clutch. This goes far beyond just developing a shot. I think we all know he needs to develop a jump shot. And I'm not talking about a three-pointer. He doesn't need to get a three. That can come later. If he can get just a solid mid-range jump shot, that would help so much because if bigs have to come out there and defend that and respect that, he can drive right around those guys because he's quicker than a lot of those bigger dudes that he plays against. So if he can get that, that would improve a lot in this game. So I can compare him to Giannis because Giannis, look, he's not the best jump shooter. We know he struggles to shoot from the field when he's not in the post. And also, he struggles from the line, but at least Giannis does not run away from the ball. He wants the ball in the clutch, and he is willing to still shoot and shoot these foul shots. And look, he Giannis has been shooting in I guess close to a 50% clip, but he still wants the ball. At least he still wants those opportunities. Ben Simmons wants nothing to do with that. And if that is the case, I think that is not a problem with the coach. That's not a problem with the team. That's a problem with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons has to get working. And from what I have heard from some of the radio show hosts who might be based out of Philadelphia, they're saying, hey, he's there. He shoots foul shots. He shoots jump shots. But for whatever reason, he doesn't trust it in the game. Then that's something Ben Simmons has to work out in his mind. So whether he has to go talk to a therapist, whether he has to go talk to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, excuse me, whatever he has to do to get himself right, then that has to be done. Uh, I mean, I guess when he's been asked about it, it's been very nonchalant. He kind of blows him off. And Doc Rivers, and I mean, he was already always defending him when it came to asking questions about his lack of a jump shot and him struggling at the free throw line and him not wanting the ball. He's defending him, but again, just like I said last week on this webcast, it's pretty damning if you're going to go and defend him and then when it comes time to have him out there on the court, he's not on the court. You got him on the bench. That also can mess with someone's psyche. When you're out there, you're defending him, you're saying, hey, concentrate on the things he does well. We can win with this guy. But then when it comes time for him to be out there in the clutch, he's not in the game. I think that's got to mess with Ben Simmons' psyche too. So I think there are a lot of factors here. But for the question of whether or not he should get traded, I'll say this. when the Sixers were in the when they were in the rumor mill of potentially getting James Harden from the Houston Rockets, I was one of the people not to toot any horns. I mean, hindsight is 2020, but I felt like if they were able to swing that trade, that would have been the best for both parties. You get a young Ben Simmons who's 24, 25 years old, still needing to develop, and Houston was in a rebuilding stage anyway. Philly is in a win now mode, and they've been sitting here trying to stay behind this process. Bottom line now is they want to see returns. They want to see this turn into something that's going to bring another championship to Philadelphia. Well, not by Sixers. I know the Eagles won one a few years ago in football, but it's been a while since the 76ers has won NBA championship. They want to see those times now. And I feel like if they were able to make that trade for James Harden, I think that could have put them closer together. Now, I know James Harden gets knocked around for being selfish on the court, but the man has led the league in assists. If we're going to be factual about it, and you look at the stats, he's one of your higher assist guys. So I think what that would have done more than anything else is that would have provided spacing for Joel Embiid to operate inside. And we know what Harden can do on the outside as an offensive player. I just felt like that would have been a good mix there. Now, would it have worked out long term? That remains to be seen. We've seen players come and get paired with James Harden, whether that's Dwight Howard back in 2014, whether that is Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook. It didn't work out long term, but maybe in the short term, maybe you could steal a championship or two. Maybe. Well, I don't know if you get two, but you could have had an opportunity to steal one. So I felt like that trade, if that was going to happen, if James Harden was going to get moved, I felt like the 76ers would have been a perfect fit. But now it doesn't look like you would get much value if you're trying to trade Ben Simmons. So part of me says he's gonna return to the 76ers, but if he gets traded, if I'm Philly and I'm looking at a trade partner, personally, I am looking at Portland. I am looking at the Trailblazers, and I'm going to see if I can get either Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum and another player or maybe a draft pick in exchange for Ben Simmons. I don't know if Portland would be interested in that, but I feel like what that could do is Ben Simmons gets away from Philadelphia, gets a fresh start in Portland. Portland and up there in the Pacific Northwest, that media market and that spotlight is not nearly as harsh as it is in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, as we all know, is one of the toughest sports towns we have in this country. And the minute something starts to go wrong, they are going to come after Ben Simmons. And I don't know if that's necessarily in his head, but I do feel like if he was to get a fresh start, maybe he's got to go to a spot where the pressure won't be called upon him like that. Not everything is going to be on top of his shoulders because right now I just don't know how tough Ben Simmons is with this psyche right now. So if you can get a Damian Lillard or a CJ McCollum for Philly side, what that does is give you another scorer on the outside to again give some space into Joel Embiid, and maybe you can get somebody else, whether that's let's say PJ Tucker or even a Nicholas Batum for the Clippers. Of course, PJ Tucker plays for the Milwaukee Bucks, but those two dudes they bring toughness. They bring some grit. They bring some grind to them. And Philly, to me, desperately needs that. So that's the team that sticks out to me if Philly was to trade Ben Simmons. And another reason why I say Portland is because of this as well. So people will talk about the contracts. And that is also a huge factor when it comes to making a trade because you have to make sure those figures match. Ben Simmons has what looks like right now an albatross of a contract. I think he's due 140 million for the next 4 years. That's 35 million per year. So if you can get Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum, who also have some pretty huge contracts, then you can make it match from a financial standpoint and potentially get some good returns. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen with Ben Simmons. There seems to be some issues maybe in his head. I mean, because he doesn't even want the ball. He runs away from the ball. He doesn't want to shoot. He wants nothing to do with the ball, particularly in the clutch moments. And if he is a elite player, if he's going to be an elite player, which he's not that, he's not an elite player. He's a good defensive player, but that's about it. Uh, if there's a place for Ben Simmons in the league because he is willing to do the dirty work, which is rebound and defend. So you can always use one of those players, but it's crazy he doesn't want to shoot in a league where everybody wants to get their shots up. So look, for Ben Simmons, hopefully he can get himself together and just develop other parts of his game because I mean he's still young. He's got time to do it, but he's got to want to do it. And if he doesn't want to do it, then I don't think he's going to get too much better than what you're seeing right now. So let's go on to a few other topics. Before I move on to this topic about the potential for female coaches in the NBA, I hope y'all enjoyed that game of move it on, or excuse me, run it back or break it up. So hopefully we could bring that game back for a little bit, and hopefully Patrick's back on there with me. Now, women's coaches in the league. So we had heard Becky Hammond, who's the assistant coach for San Antonio Spurs at this current time, is a finalist for the job up in Portland. I think it's between her and Chauncey Billups. I think both of those people got second interviews with the team. Now, there are a good amount of openings right now in the NBA. You have one in Portland, in Boston, in Dallas, in New Orleans, in Indiana, in Washington, and Orlando. I think those are the seven that have openings right now. I I'm not quite sure if a woman is going to be in one of these spots, but if it is, then good for them. Again, that's showing progression. That is showing we are ready to uh, see a situation where a woman can be a head coach. Becky Hammond, I think Kara Lawson is another one. I think she's the head coach in Duke right now, who's been mentioned in it potentially getting the Boston Celtics job because she is familiar with the Boston Celtics to a certain capacity. And then I think Don Staley was in the conversation for a coach who could move up to the NBA as well. If that is to happen, I think that would be a great thing to see. And if it doesn't happen this year, then I think it's only a matter of time before it does happen. There are a lot of qualified women out here who can do a good job and they would have the respect of the men. It's definitely going to be a hot microscope for whoever is the women's coach or the first female coach to come in. But that organization, whoever it is I think they're going to do a good job of having their back as well. In terms of who I think is ready for it, in terms of the organization and potentially the city, um, ooh, that's a tough one. I can see Dallas being one because Mark Cuban is kind of a progressive owner, not really scared to do new things. I could see a female coach coming here in Dallas. I could see Boston because of Kara Lawson and the ties she has. But man, it's gonna be a good day when that does happen. And like I said, if it doesn't happen today or later on this week or later on this year when some of these options, some of these head coaching positions get filled up, then I think it is coming in a matter of time. And I think we will see it in the NBA before any other league because in most cases, the NBA is more progressive, willing to try new things, willing to get a little bit further away from their tradition than the other leagues. But But in the NFL, I mean, you've had assistant women's coaches all over the place. Now, of course, those staffs are a little bit bigger, but I mean, I would say basketball would be the first sport we see a female head coach before any of the other sports. But it's not a lack. It, if there isn't one, it's not because there's a lack of qualified women there. There will be a women's coach really soon. And I'll give it two years. And if it doesn't happen this year, I'll give it till next year to see if there is a women's coach to be in the NBA. And like I said, when it does happen, because it's not a matter of if anymore in my eyes, it's a matter of when. When it does, and I think that'll be a great thing. Um, Last topic, we're gonna jump into Major League Baseball and talk about their crackdown on foreign substances being used by pitchers. So, yesterday, the New York Mets ace, Jacob DeGrom, was the one who was checked by the umps to see if he has any foreign substances on his jersey or anywhere else. So, a part of the crackdown that MLB was doing, just based off, we'll just break it down from the beginning. So, basically, what you have is offensive numbers are down across the board. The batting average, which I think was around 232 from the first couple of months of the season, it's in a position where it could be the lowest in league history. So it's been that bad. And I guess Major League Baseball did their research, looking at the different baseballs that were used by different pitchers in games, and they were saying the balls were sticky to the touch, just sticky. And so they were trying to figure out, I guess, well, what's going on. Well, now it came out that a lot of the pitchers were using these different foreign substances, whether it's sunscreen or now spider tack, whatever, whatever it could be, just to help those pitchers get better grips on the ball and I guess increase spin rate, one of those analytical terms, which is basically saying uh, revolutions on the ball from in a pitch from the mound to the plate to the plate. and and so the, with all that going on, of course, if you have more concern, or excuse me, more control over the ball, then you can make this pitch do some different things in terms of location. And what you had as a result of this, although I feel the whole using the foreign substance on the ball, I think it's part of it. Another part of it, I just think it's the way the game is being taught now. I mean, strikeouts are already at all-time high anyway, so it's not like the hitters were struggling as it is. And if they were connecting, it was a home run. I mean, that's what you have is home runs or strikeouts now. But uh the spin rate and being able to have better grip on the ball, that it was a contributing factor. And using a substance of that nature, I mean, that is a performance enhancer. No matter what, it's not a performance enhancing drug per se, because you're not necessarily putting it into your body. But in terms of using something to uh, get a better grip on the ball and have better control of your pitches and making your pitches do stuff that it wasn't able to do before, yes, that is enhancing the performance. So Major League Baseball goes, they crack down, they do a crackdown on it, and they're telling their umps, hey, do a random search on this player, on this pitcher. If he has substances on him, he is ejected from that game and he's gone for 10 games. Now, for a starting pitcher, maybe one or two starts. But for a reliever, that's a good little amount, because most of these relievers, they might come in 7 or 8 of those games. So it's something that Major League Baseball, I guess, they probably had to do to try to get control of it. I don't know how right or wrong it is. It seems like it was just kind of a rush decision to try to fix the game, um, and maybe a band aid, if nothing else. And we'll see what all comes up because they have a pending work stoppage coming on. Their current collective bargaining agreement expires in December, and those guys between the Players Association and Major League Baseball, they're nowhere close to a deal, and they're always at odds anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was another work stoppage, and if there is, then this could be a moment where Major League Baseball permanently loses millions of fans. But back to this matter at hand about the foreign substance use. What this will do is it will really, really show which pictures are legit and which ones were basically a product of the foreign substance. Look, Jacob DeGrom still came out there and shut down the Atlanta Braves lineup. So maybe he was using the substance, maybe he wasn't. But with this new crackdown, we're really going to start to see what pictures are legit, which ones have the electric stuff, and it's all about their game and not about some foreign substance they were using, whether it was sunscreen, spider tag. I mean, you already have the rosin bag out there, but it's going to expose a lot, and that part I really like that. I like seeing who is the best, like who is doing their stuff right, and this crackdown, although I don't necessarily agree with the whole crackdown because I feel like it's kind of a band-aid, kind of a quick fix to a problem that honestly has been around for a long, long time. But it's going to show which pictures are legit, which ones are doing their stuff without the use of foreign substances. Whew. Well, I covered a lot there in a little bit more than 45 minutes. So I hope y'all enjoyed the show. That will conclude this edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. You guys make sure to visit the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel. Smash that subscribe button if you're not trying to miss out on any of the products we are putting out there. And also keep the lights coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. And we are on Twitch as well. This is the first time that we have been on Twitch, and I'm glad to have that other forum to make sure people get to see this show. If you have any comments, any feedback, please let me know. And it doesn't matter, good, bad, or indifferent. Uh, we will get back with you. We'll talk to you, and we can have that good banter, that good debate, all about that good conversation. So uh I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Y'all take it easy. I will see y'all later on in the week. And again, we do this live every Tuesday. So come on, join us. Give us a quick little holla and let us know how we're doing. Until then, y'all take care and have a good rest of the week.